Well, it looks as though you're all ready to hear the rest of the story.
We can't wait! Did you really jump out of an airplane?
Did Elrod really find gold? And did you help him?
And what about poor C.J. Willie? You're going to tell us what happened to him, aren't you?
Yes, I will get to all of that. Now, where was I?
Sergeant Willie had just told you that your training was completed. Your unit was going to parachute in to begin your operation in the morning. And you didn't sleep very well.
Yes, that's right, Izzy. We all had trouble sleeping that night, wondering what tomorrow would bring. And for the first time, I really felt homesick. We don't often appreciate what we have until it's not there anymore. At any rate, we all loaded up into the cargo plane and took off. I think for the first time, I was really scared.
Oh, don't let Franklin fool you. He was as brave as anyone.
Mr. Morgan, it's great to see you. How's that new axle working out?
Just great, E.J. And it's nice to see you again. Franklin, I hear you're telling war stories. I'm glad. It's about time we did.
We were just about to parachute in. Feel free to help out if I forget something.
I'm sure you will. Yeah, but please, proceed.
Okay. We were nearing the drop area. Sergeant Willie ordered the cargo door on the rear of the plane to be opened. First, we pushed out the supplies and the trailers. Then, when Sergeant Willie gave the order, one after the other, we just drove right out of the back of the plane. I was never as happy as when I felt my parachute open up with a jerk.
What was it like up there, Franklin?
To tell you the truth, Izzy, after I got over my fear, it was beautiful. I could see for miles. The sun was shining, I could see trees and grassy hills and lakes, and of course, not one border. From up there, it seemed really hard to believe that there could be a group determined to harm others and take away their freedom.
Did you all make it down safely?
All down safely. I did, however, land awkwardly on a boulder that injured my axle. That axle bothered me for years.
You mean the same axle you broke during the soccer game?
That's right, E.J. After all those years, it finally gave way. I should have had it replaced years ago. I feel like a teenager now. Johnny, perhaps later we should do some ramp-to-ramp jumping, what?
Easy there, old fella. As I was saying, we hit the ground. Sergeant Willie immediately gave orders for us to locate our supplies and trailers. I did notice that Morgan was a bit gimpy. We attached our trailers and started down the trail toward the front. We seemed to be well organized and making good time. Behind me, I could hear Sergeant Willie chewing out Elrod something fierce. I suddenly had a bad feeling about Elrod. I had hoped he would realize how important our mission was and just forget about his little scheme. We were, however, making good progress towards the bridge. All the training really paid off. I felt like I could pull that load all day long. Come on, Morgan, keep up the pace.
Don't worry about me, Franklin. We had a mission to complete. The cars at the front needed those supplies, Franklin. I was keeping up as best I could. When I saw the bridge, my spirits lifted. I knew we were almost there. There's the bridge, Franklin. It's still standing.
Standing, but barely. We'd better get these supplies across fast. As we crossed, we could see that the bridge had been badly damaged. The two main guy wires were nearly severed. We hurried across and tried not to think about the long drop into the rocky gorge below. As we crossed, we could hear artillery blasting away.
We're almost there! Keep going!
The closer we got, the louder the shelling. We finally came to a small clearing very near the front.
This is as far as we go! Unload those supplies!
Sergeant Willie moved ahead to communicate with the commanding officer at the front. Quickly and efficiently, we unloaded the valuable supplies. By the time he returned, we were all unloaded.
Men, I know you're tired, but we need to return quickly. We have word of a small enemy unit that has skirted the front, and it's determined to destroy the bridge, thereby cutting off future supplies. Franklin, take the lead.
Everyone, move out!
With empty trailers, we were making good time back to the bridge. But we were becoming aware of explosions that seemed to be coming from up ahead of us, in the direction of the bridge. The moment we arrived at the crossing, there was a blast. It missed us, but now the bridge was in real trouble. I don't think it will support us, Sergeant.
It has to, Franklin.
Sergeant Willie fearlessly drove out onto the bridge and attached his winch around the damaged support. Then he backed carefully off the bridge, pulling the cable tight.
Okay, let's move it, move it!
The bridge is secure. Let's roll. Come on, quickly. The bridge was holding. Our unit was moving quickly across, trusting that Sergeant Willie would hold on. It was an amazing sight. CJ risking everything in order to save our unit. It was absolute and devoted loyalty. At the end of the line came Morgan, sore axle and all. It was then I realized we were missing one car from our unit. Elrod. I knew at once what he was up to. Our very lives were in danger. Sergeant Willie was saving us all, and Elrod was thinking only of himself, looking for gold. Morgan made it safely across. Still no sign of Elrod. The shelling was getting more intense.
Go, Franklin! This is your last chance! I can't hold any longer!
But CJ, how are you?
That's an order, soldier! Now!
I hurried across and looked back. Suddenly, Elrod emerged struggling with a heavy load. He looked hesitantly at Sergeant Willie, then started across the bridge. As the weight of his trailer hit the bridge, it groaned and sagged terribly. Sergeant Willie was fighting for traction, straining with all the horsepower he had to keep the bridge up. The more the bridge sagged, the closer Sergeant Willie slid towards the edge of the gorge, fighting desperately for strength and traction. Elrod was nearing our side, pulling his load uphill now as the bridge sagged ever lower. First, 2 of his wheels cleared the bridge, then his back 2 wheels. But at that instant, we heard a snap, and the entire bridge collapsed. Luckily for Elrod, his trailer came cleanly off and disappeared with the bridge. But there was also no sign of Sergeant Willie on the other side. We all stood there, hoping to catch a glimpse of our sergeant on the far bank, knowing we wouldn't.
My gold! It's all gone! My gold!
Who cares about your gold? CJ's gone, you fool! And if it hadn't have been for your gold, CJ might still be alive! I saw a lot of things that terrible day at the bridge. Absolute loyalty. Absolute greed. And I would never have the chance to speak to CJ again. And I haven't spoken with Elrod since. Things change in an instant.
Thanks for telling us that story, Franklin. I can see why you don't like to talk about it. But it really was amazing what CJ did.
Yes, it was. Because of his loyalty, our entire unit had a second chance at life.
So, maybe you should give Elrod a second chance.
Perhaps Izzy is right, Franklin. Maybe we should drive up and see old Elrod.
I don't think I could.
It's been almost 40 years, old man. In honor of our sergeant, perhaps we can show the same loyalty to our unit that CJ did.
Perhaps, Mr. Morgan. Perhaps.